Hi, there we are.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for
Good.
having us.
We'll do some introductions and then we will get into this really amazing topic tonight. I'm so excited. So I am Kenzi Locks. I am the Director of Educational Development here at Tikva. And so tonight we have Ayala and Josh Gross, who like it could take us forever just to do your intros, I feel like, in the most wonderful of ways. But just to give you the briefest of overviews in terms of your relationship to Yesh Tikva, Yala, really, first of all, you're a board member and you started our One Candle program. So if anybody is familiar with our One Candle program, one of the things that we really do and the services we provide, and it spreads so much awareness about infertility. I just tabled in Teaneck and had folks creating their One Candle and explaining it, and folks who had never really understood how close infertility can hit a family and what it can be like are currently praying for folks going through infertility because of the program you started while going through your own journey. And you also host the Pure podcast with Ayala, which the reason that we're really talking tonight as well is the most recent episode that just came out on June 17th, Broken Male Infertility. Please go listen to this podcast and just I can't speak to where you should start necessarily. I'm very biased, but start there. These two and just your dynamic. I know you're married, so your dynamic should be something special, but it really is. And I could see that. And I actually watched the podcast instead of just listening. And I was like, oh, you two just seem fantastic together.
Thank you for
And you
watching
were,
it.
yeah, and vulnerable and open. And I appreciated it so much. So anything I'm leaving out that I should be mentioning in terms
No,
of your relationship with Yesh Tikva?
I think we're just so honored to be a part of Yeshikva and be involved in the amazing work that you guys do. It helps couples who are struggling with infertility. I myself wish that I had this. We both wish we had Yeshikva around when we were going through infertility. The support that it gives couples is amazing. I know we always focus on the woman, but it really does give a lot of support to couples and awareness to the community and family and friends and parents of children who are going through it. So really, bravo, kudos for joining this amazing organization. It's changing the world. It's helping so many people. Glad to be part of
Yeah,
it.
I just ditto to everything. I completely agree, obviously. And do you mind giving the two of you an overview of, I believe it was a 15-year infertility journey. Do I have that number right?
Yes, yeah.
Can you sum that up? And how do you sum up 15 years?
I guess everybody who follows me on both the Baby and Pure podcast, they hear from me a lot. So I'll let my husband take this one since
Sure.
I do a lot of the talking. I'll let him do that part.
Listen, I mean, same in my marriage
Yeah.
too.
I felt bad because the fertility journey, as far as my perspective, it's really the female. So you should really take it on, but I'll help here. For me, the journey, the physicality aspect of it is always on the woman. And I don't think as a husband or a spouse, you can actually really experience or feel that aspect of it. So the emotional side, fine, but the actual physicality and the pain we don't go through it. So it's very hard to be there and relate as far as what the journey was because it was hundreds of needles and crying and trips to doctors and this clinic and that clinic. And as the years went by, I didn't think it would be as prolonged as it was to the point where at some point in the journey, I just gave up. I just said, forget it. In my mind, I was checked out of having a child. When you get to that point, you start not sharing things with your spouse. You just kind of hold things in, a lot of anger first with the IUI, and that was okay in the beginning because that sounded very scientific and sounded very smart to do and sounded like, okay, great plan. Doctors all recommended it. We'll do that and we'll keep trying that for a while. And that fails month after month and month after month. And you keep hearing, okay, we'll up this medication to take that medication down. And as long as the doctor's making movement, you're hopeful, right? So long as there's a
Right.
change from month to month, you're hopeful that the next month will be different. In a lot of cases, it's not. So the doctors just kind of say, hey, well, you did IUI for 12 months plus. You did intralipids for 3 of those months. We tried this, tried that. So at this point, IVF is your only hope. So then you hear that word hope used by a doctor and what they think is a positive, but it's negative because it's the only hope. And then the only hope fails. We did our first cycle of IVF and it failed.
How long had you been married at this point?
When we first started IVF, we were married
Yes.
7 years. That was when we
Yeah.
started our first
Yeah.
IVF.
Pretty much your whole marriage, your whole married
Oh
life
yeah, yeah, yeah.
has been infertility treatment.
Correct. So being in the frum community,
Right.
you get married and you figure put it in God's hands and whatever happens, happens. But when things don't happen, you're just waiting, waiting, waiting. And then of course at that time your friends are having kids right and left, which for a spouse, and I just know this because of how many times Ayala has expressed it and experiencing it, going to synagogue on Shabbos with stroller after stroller and meal after meal with friends that are having child, it just gets very we're wearing on the female. I think the male's the emotional side's not there for that to be so effective. But seeing the pain that a woman goes through just feeling left out on the playground at shul, in the lobby at shul, at people's houses and meals, all that's happening while you're still trying to figure out what to do and whether or not there is hope. And I think during those times, I got to the point where I was checked out. I got to the point when we started doing the first IVF, I was just so angry at everything. It was angry at myself, angry at God, angry at doctors, looking to throw anger wherever I can
Hmm.
because I need to blame someone or something because it didn't make sense. Our case was unexplained infertility, which to me is like even crazier, like unexplained. So we do the first IVF cycle and it fails, and I'm angry, whatever. And the doctor says, all right, we'll try again. Same thing as doctors with IUI, we'll just try again. And that just got me so infuriated because at this point now we're spending $45,000, $50,000
Just the
per try.
pressure of that piece of it, right? And just
Correct.
like the pressure, IUI is it's pressuring, but IVF is like just financially and the physical of it is just you're putting yourselves in a pressure cooker trying to have a baby at that point, it feels
Correct.
like.
And I guess I was looking for more empathy from a doctor, which I shouldn't have been.
Mm,
He does it all day. He can't be
right,
there and
but
cry with
still.
everybody. But still, what are we changing? And he said nothing. And at that
Mm,
point, that's the whole story on the podcast of me, driving back home with Yala, her going over the corner crying, me leaving the house, me screaming at God, blaming God, not realizing the pain that my wife was in, not connecting to that emotional side at all, trying to fix it, trying to always fix it, have a solution. What's the next step? Okay, it's over, it didn't work. What's happening next? Even asking the doctor, what's the next step? Is that solution oriented phase, not a pause and be
right.
like, oh, hey, give my wife a hug. It's okay, let's go. Next month, what are we doing?
Start
And
over.
here's my wife with the bruises from the needles and the emotional pain, the physical pain, and I'm just focused on like, let's get it over with so everyone can relax and everyone could
Right.
come back to normal as far as the emotional scale.
Right. And what was that like for you, Ayala, to have your partner just, okay, what's next? What's next? Like, I know he's saying what it was like for you, but I'm so curious just from within you. What was that like?
It was very challenging. But I think that when a woman or myself, and I speak for women, when you're in that moment, even if he was emotionally available for me in that time, nothing would have really helped
Mm,
from my partner at that moment. It was just like, it was as much as my husband was solution orientated, women are also too. We're like, we just want to have that baby. I want to get this whole thing over with. I don't want to sit here and dwell. I want to get through this. So yes, there's definitely hard times when your partner isn't there for you. And again, I'm not putting you on the chopping block. And we've spoken about this publicly too. A lot of men have a hard time understanding how to be there for their wives. So you don't have a baby, and then your marriage starts to crumble because you don't feel like you have the husband that you need. So he's not giving you a baby and he's not giving you the emotional support. So everything gets so heavy. And what a lot of women do, and I know this from my own experience, but also in the last 10 years mentoring women, even through my own infertility journey, I was mentoring women too, which was crazy. They
it
go
doesn't
in.
surprise me just with everything that you seem like you do for others. Like, it doesn't surprise me that, of course, you're serving others while you're struggling yourself.
It
Sorry
helps
to
me a
interrupt.
lot. No.
Yeah,
It
I
helps
believe
me.
it.
It was so helpful to break out of yourself. But a lot of women go into seclusion, and I did that for myself. I went into seclusion. I went emotionally suppressed everything. I didn't express myself in my relationships, not just with my husband, with my friends. I didn't know where to turn to. There was no yesh tikva at that time. At
Mhm.
that time, there was nothing. Finally, an infertility awareness and support group popped up in my synagogue. That was the turning point for me. because now I didn't have to rely emotionally on my husband for something that he couldn't give me in that moment. He was
Mhm.
having his own journey, which I was not again aware of until again more recently after we finished our infertility journey. So instead of going to him for something that he couldn't give me in that moment, I found this support and help in other women who were struggling, and that
Mm.
made me feel less alone. So that was really helpful. And then when I started filling my own cup, I started coming back to our relationship, needing less from him and being able to share where I am, able to share my struggle, my journey. And regardless if he was able to give to me the support I needed, it put less pressure on our relationship being like, I need you to fix everything and emotionally.
Yeah, I think those years of doctor's offices created or it removed vulnerability from our marriage because we were both in a place of being strong for each other, and then you're not talking about it. I mean, if I look back, and we spoke about this, I think, in the podcast, I don't think we had really a conversation during those years of actual feelings. I think it got to the point where it was so robotic that we weren't crying together, we weren't holding each other. We were just focused on what's the next step. And that was the conversation. What doctor, when's the appointment, what time, who's going, who's driving, what medication, and just crying in each other's corners. It's just like totally separated. And then I guess when you kind of get through it and further into it, we got further along that it got so removed where there was no even, I mean, for my part, I had zero conscious awareness of any emotional pain that I was going through. I wasn't there.
Yeah, so couples who've gone through infertility journeys, it starts affecting not just your relationship, but your physical intimacy because you're not connecting emotionally. There's no emotional intimacy. So the physical intimacy holds a back seat, even though you're trying to connect that way. The connection is severed because you don't have the emotional IQ. So the physical is just like it's just like a missed high five. Like it doesn't work the way that you want it to.
Yeah, you don't have the emotional safety within each other that you used to
Right.
have. So to go into that place, it's not the same. It's very different, especially when it's this person that in the past, I'm sure you trusted implicitly and that you could turn to them for anything. Suddenly, you can't turn to them for this huge thing. It's like you're working on a group project.
Yeah.
And, it
To
as
work with
opposed,
this. Let's make a baby instead of
yeah.
let's have a
Well,
baby.
I like
No,
that.
I
That's a
always
good way
said
to put
it.
it.
And she would call us roommates, and I would get upset,
Yeah.
but she was 100% right. It was spot on. That's where our relationship got when we did that cycle. When we got to the RMA, we were at that level, just going through motions.
And how are you presenting to those around you? Like, did your friends and family realize that you were having these infertility struggles, but also just struggling within the relationship? Or was it, we hear a lot from folks that feel like they really have to put on a happy face and showcase, we're happy together, even if we don't have a baby just yet, everything feels good. But behind
I
closed
mean,
doors, things can often be like what you have. What
I
you have.
I always felt that everyone was talking behind our backs.
Mm,
The way we presented to people, it wasn't even a presenting. When we were out, it was a relief
okay.
because at home it was like we don't want to talk
Correct.
IVF stuff. We watched so much TV. Like I think I have a whole catalog of Netflix in my head during that time. Like we just hibernated, we hid. But when we went out, we were like so happy because we were out of this bubble that we didn't want to be in. That house should have had a baby in it. That house should have had kids and mess and toys. Instead, we had two dogs. We kept getting more dogs. We didn't have kids. Like if I don't have a kid this year, babies are getting a dog. So it was not a home that we were trying to build. So
Yeah.
getting out of it was a relief. It's like we would hang out and
Mm,
have friends and be, oh, we're so jealous of your relationship. We're like, yeah, yeah. And then we go home and like, and it was fine, but there was distance. Like,
right.
now what? Like it's a
Right.
quiet house with two dogs that just took a
Right.
poop by the door and now I have to
Yeah.
clean that up. Like it's not the house we
Right.
want.
Right.
We
It's not
want
the house you
people.
want. It's not the family you want.
Yeah.
It's no longer the marriage that you were expecting. Because at this point, you
Right.
thought the group project would be raising children, not giving shots and managing 7 a.m. monitoring appointments and whatnot. It's
Yeah, and
different.
what's funny is that part, even though it was hard and challenging, at least there's movement.
Mm.
When that
Yeah.
stops and you don't know what to do between the next cycle or you don't
Yeah.
have money between this next cycle, that's where the brain and the relationship and everything goes
Yeah.
to like absolute.
That
Our
was like the
pause.
worst of times for you
Yeah.
guys there.
I think the pause between the IUI shift to IVF, there's like a 2 year period there because we moved to Florida. We got the money together to do the first cycle. I felt blamed because financially not being able to do it right away. Let's do it, do it, do it. Financially not there, and then trying to put together the organizations and this and that. And I don't want to go through that. So Ayala's out there by herself trying to do what she can to organize and arrange things, try to get it moving because she wants to go. And then I didn't want to. At that point, I was just like, okay, when it happens, it happens. That's where that moment of being checked out was just, when it happens, it happens. I'm not going to force it.
And then you get the comments from friends or family. If you've asked a family member, hey, can I borrow $5,000, $6,000 for
Right.
recycle? They go, well, if you can't afford it, how can you
Right.
afford a child? And
Right.
then you're just like,
Children don't need $10,000 randomly like that typically.
right.
Right.
And like both what they're saying has
Right.
like an ounce of truth to it. So
Oh,
but it's like so out of place and so wrong.
Hurtful.
But
right.
like people have babies all day that can't afford them. So then you get into
It's
this argument, and then you get an
Yeah.
argument about adoption and then IVF and why are you trying to have a baby if you can't afford? And it was like, thank God now we're on the other side where we're able to help other couples financially and help them emotionally. So then I know what it's like to be in that spot where people say those awful things to you and you don't even know how to respond.
right.
I forgot that one. That was infuriating. That was infuriating.
So
Yeah.
painful. And it's funny because when people outside of us started like judging us or said small things, when they did that, it actually brought us together because now we had we had a common enemy.
Yes, a common
Public
enemy.
enemy.
Yeah.
And you're on the same page of like that was out of line. That hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then that brought us together. And it's funny, like you think the people outside of you meant to help you, the fact that they pushed us face to face, we're like, oh my God, I hate them so much. Like that brought a relationship together. And it's funny how that happens. Hashem sends you the messenger to push you on your path to growth. And those little moments helped as well.
Yeah.
As well as
Oh.
getting out of the house and like
Yeah.
doing anything out of the house.
I really, you know what? I appreciate that perspective because I think that that's not something, just the common enemy part of it, as well as getting out. I feel like the isolation is so common and the push to just get out, it sounds so huge, but to know that it might feel really good out there is wonderful advice and a good point. And then this common enemy, you really still were in it together. Even if in a lot of those moments you didn't feel in it together, you were clearly in it together. It's just
Yeah.
losing sight of it. And I love the idea that, you know, Hashem brought this, Hashem brought these people to bring you kind of back face to face with
It's
each
like
other.
you guys are about to disappear off the abyss emotionally. I need to send
Right.
someone to like snapshot you together and be
Get
like,
angry.
yeah,
Get angry here.
Right.
we're on
They
the
put you
same
back
team.
on the same team. Like,
Yeah,
let's get
can
you
you
back on
believe
the
that?
same team.
They have 14 kids.
Yeah,
How
and
dare they?
they don't know anything about children and like this. And then we would be able to go off. But when we were able to like have that common enemy, it made infertility lighter and it felt like we were on the same team instead of like your team sucks and my team is great or vice versa. Your team's great and my team's
Right.
we were each other's enemy. Like,
Yeah.
why are you not being able to get pregnant, Niall?
Yeah.
Why aren't you able to get me pregnant? These conversations are going on in our head. They weren't actually happening.
Of course.
So yeah, because unexplained infertility is like, hey, you're gonna go and have brain surgery because I don't know, you've been having migraines. So we're just gonna like ice cream scoop half of
Right.
your brain out and
Around, see if it
yeah.
helps.
Like
Exactly.
why
And
why
it'll cost a lot of money.
it'll cost money and we don't really know what we're doing, but like it's worked before. And you're like, well, what I just have a headache.
So,
Yeah.
because especially since you've mentioned your oldest is in second grade.
Yes. Yeah, he's going into second grade, thank God.
Beautiful. So, how did this journey end essentially? How did you guys come back? Did things repair when you got pregnant? Did things repair differently, you know, through a different method of some kind? How did you two really get back to this place?
Sure. Well, I'll take this one. So you also have to come into the camera so they know.
Yeah,
that
you're leaving us, Josh. Come back.
No, he's
Don't
like,
make
I'm
me
gonna,
get a common
I'm
enemy
getting
for you.
scared. We're talking about IVF again. I gotta get out. I'm getting uncomfortable.
I don't want to
Take
talk
his
about
car
it.
keys, Ayala.
I know where this goes.
So to make a long story very short, because we did a round of IVF, it failed. We did a ton of stuff between then. Finally, we do this IVF round. We get two embryos that are Baruch Hashem perfect. They transfer one, they freeze the other one. That first one is my son. He is 7.5, thank God, right now. He is wonderful. He's my miracle baby. And then we ended up separating for about a year when my son was about 6 months old. And we got back together. And then we decided we are going to try to get pregnant. And if it doesn't work, we'll go for the second embryo. Let's go for the second embryo in October because that's when they next had the next free time. And then between then and now, we're doing the same thing we've done before, you know? And I have a beautiful miracle story, which I don't want to take too much time here, but I had a miracle story where I had in the mix, I had a spiritual experience with Hashem. I felt him there with me, and that was the night I got pregnant with my daughter.
Oh,
As second as we were done, I was like, I'm pregnant. He's like, ha ha ha. I'm like, no, 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 no,
yeah.
no. Like,
Listen, I think
I'm
sometimes we know
pregnant.
these things. I'm with you.
Yeah, I was like, for sure.
Totally.
It's like this is 12 years of trying to have
Yeah.
baby,
Right.
trying
Yeah.
every type of position you could possibly think of, not upside down,
Yeah.
nothing.
Miracles happen.
Yeah, so it's a whole story in
China.
itself. Yeah, exactly. I told the story of my daughter's naming, but we had her, and I'm gonna say miraculously because that's not fair. Every child is miraculous through
Sure.
whatever way they come, through adoption, through IVF, through surrogacy. It
Right.
doesn't really matter. She was a natural baby. So
Right.
she was our natural miracle. It just
Right.
came out of nowhere after 12 years of trying. So my first
Right.
son was 9 years after trying, 12 years with my daughter, and then we were like, okay, we got pregnant naturally.
Right.
So it should happen again, but we also have a frozen embryo. And I'm doing a podcast episode with somebody who just used her last frozen embryo, talking about what it's like as a couple to decide, do you use them, do you not?
Yeah, Ayala was definitely more into planning for that second embryo. After our daughter, I was like, I didn't want to go through it again.
Yeah.
And I was scared that if we tried the second embryo and it failed, what would happen to our relationship?
Right.
So
Because
I
you've seen
didn't,
what happened, you've separated. Like, I get
I,
that.
I
Yeah.
didn't want to mess with anything. I didn't want to do anything. I was just like, okay,
Right. You have two
whatever.
beautiful
Well, yeah, we'll
children.
try
Let's
naturally.
thank
See that.
God and keep
Correct.
going.
And if we don't use it, we don't use it, which like now looking back, it's just I'm such an asshole. But like looking at where I was approaching, no, I was 40 at the time, and I was just scared of having a baby at 40.
Yeah.
Which is funny. I remember hearing my parents, even when they wanted to try to 35 years or 40 years ago, oh, if we have another one, I'm going to be the grandfather at the bar mitzvah and I'm the dad. And like all that's playing through my head. And it's just crap. It's society stuff. Literally, society was putting things in my head. And it was just fear. It was just
Yeah.
fear. Really, it boiled down to I didn't want to hurt our marriage. And I
Yeah.
didn't want to see Ayala going through that emotional pain again of a failure.
Yeah, but I pushed, and thank God I did.
Thank God.
I pushed, and
Thank you.
and after 15 years, our third pregnancy, our third child in 15 years, and he is just turned 2, and he is a miracle
Oh.
IVF little baby who's frozen for how long? For 5 years in an IVF tank somewhere.
Yeah.
I
He's
think
been
he knows
around
me
longer than your
frozen.
daughter.
Yeah, he's older than my daughter. My
The
oldest,
twins.
yeah, my oldest son. He's my twin. So we like to share our story of infertility with our children. I show my daughter the one candle. She actually, I have to show you guys a video. She puts her hands on it Friday night. She does this prayer. I don't know what she does. She sends light to Israel and like people who need to have babies. So like, she really connects to this one candle thing. I have to catch her doing it next time.
I was gonna say, get us a video of that.
Yeah. So letting our children know how miraculous they are, the same way as if a child is adopted and they tell them all the time about their adoption story.
Yeah.
And for us, it's very important. Our children understand how, not just how special and important they are, which they know, but how grateful they should be to Hashem for everything and not take it for granted. And hopefully that slowly goes into their minds. So as they get older, they understand to be grateful and compassionate for other people who are struggling with health issues or finance issues. It doesn't just have to be infertility. It's that global idea of finding compassion and understanding for somebody. And we learned that in our marriage. I had to learn compassion from my husband, which I was like, I'm the one struggling, not you.
Right.
And he had to learn compassion for me, where he's like, wait, hold on one second. Like, it's not just about the end result. I got to hold you and support you through this.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm 42. I'm coming up on 17 years married. Still learning how to properly hold space and emotional space for my wife. I think my generation, we weren't shown that. I know it's not the fault of my parents or that generation. It just wasn't in society. Movies didn't show it, TV didn't show it. They didn't have Instagram back then, but today you open up Instagram and every other video I'm seeing is how to parent, how to be a better husband. If your child comes to you crying, get on a knee, give him a hug instead of yelling or scream, be quiet or shut up. I've shown my son, our oldest, funny movies that I found funny as a kid. So, and they're not funny today because if back then funny was like a dad yelling at Home Alone, a kid like shut up and be quiet. Yeah, like right. Like
Kids are
there's no emotional feeling. There was no. So now I think society
You're
is
products
demanding
of the
that.
80s. I get
Yeah,
it.
correct.
Like, we all
The 80s were emotionless.
right. Those movies, man.
Yeah,
They forgot him and they left on vacation without their
yeah,
kid.
exactly. The whole flight. I don't know. I just think that today the next generation has more info on how to be emotionally
Yeah,
connected
I would
than
agree.
I did because I definitely still don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I'm trying.
And that's the role that you do at Tikva, not just educate and help people who are going through infertility, but their families, their friends,
Yeah.
children. That's the role that you help and you fulfill.
Look, I know hearing the phone calls in the house, they're connected to Tikva. The name goes around because there was a vacancy, for sure, a vacancy in organizations that supported fertility, not just in money, but an organization where you felt emotionally connected and people cared. Not that others don't, but there was a vacancy. And I hear the phone calls for the last God knows how many years of people thanking Ayala for the one candle, which I think was just every Shabbos I'm blown away by it. It was such a beautiful thing that she came up with. And I don't know, in random places, people bring it up. We were walking around like in Surfside of Miami and said, "Oh, you did one candle every Shabbos. I'm doing it." And I just think it's such an important thing that Yesh Tikva gives the awareness, does allow focus on the husbands, does give a voice for the husbands,
Mm-hmm.
does give a place for them to voice their frustrations or help educate them on how to be more supportive to the spouses. Because I didn't have it, and I know now what I would have done differently in our journey. But I think now husbands have a much better chance to grasp that earlier on. I can only imagine because I can't remember. I'm not in the shoes. How hurtful it was for Ayala that I wasn't there
Mm-hmm.
emotionally the way I needed to be.
Yeah.
They're such an important part of any woman's life, whether it's IVF, whether it's IUI, whether it's natural pregnancy. That whole journey is an extreme emotional, physical roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're checked out, you literally just put more distance between a
Mm-hmm.
couple that doesn't have to be there. It doesn't.
Thank you guys so much for just, again, the vulnerability and your openness. And maybe it's easy for you, but I want to acknowledge it's not easy for everybody to just be so open and honest in a public space. And again, I want to plug your podcast episode and your podcast in general one more time. Because if you are watching this and you're like, these two, just the information they're giving is priceless. You can get a lot more of it right on
Yeah.
this podcast episode from June 17th on the Pure podcast. The episode is called Broken Male Infertility. It says mature for audiences. Don't listen if you have little ears around, maybe not for them, but it's. I'm like, I laughed, I cried. I feel like, as silly as that sounds, it's true. I was tearing up, I was laughing. It's just your dynamic is, I really appreciate it just from the bottom of my heart. And I appreciate you guys spending your evening with me and chatting for everybody who's watching. I also want to plug you guys are hosting a challah bake in your home on September 11th. So coming up at
What?
right after. Did you not know that? Sorry,
No,
Josh.
no,
I'm going to
no,
be at your
no.
house.
Yeah.
And so you're in Florida. Remind me, where are you in Boca in Florida?
Or near Boca.
If you're in that area, folks watching this and you're in Florida and you want to get involved, see these two live and in person, make some challah, do something for the Yesh Tikva community and the infertility community. You can do all of it in one place.
I also want to say if there
Yes.
is anybody that listens to this, I love to use my podcast to be able to share other people's infertility journeys. If you feel this speaks to you, if this is something that you want to share, please contact me through Boca Baby or Pure Podcast. And if you want to share your story, we can do it in a beautiful way. There's the more people that are open about this, the more people it helps. I never thought that if I shared my story it would help. I can't even tell you how many people have been like, thank you so much. This has helped me emotionally, or it helped me find the right doctor, or helped me talk to my husband. So your story can affect even one person, and that's all that it matters. So if it feels like a calling to you and you've always wanted a platform to do it, please reach out to me or Yesh Tikva, and I would love to have you on my podcast here in Florida.
Yes, and we would love to connect whoever wants to be connected as well.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much. This is the first of what I hope is many, many conversations. We have some future plans between all of us, so you will see these two again. And in the meantime, have a great night, everybody. And thank you
Good
for
night.
listening.
Thank you.
So
It was
much.
wonderful. Lovely
Of
talking
course,
with you.
you too. You too.
Chodesh
Thanks.
Tov, good Shabbos.
Yes, good Shabbos. Bye.